On August 2nd, 2026, the last train left the station. Kumba ran for 33 years. For a generation of Floridians, that teal track was Busch Gardens. People drove hours for one final ride. Grown adults cried in the parking lot. And here's the part almost nobody in that parking lot knew. 10 months earlier, Busch Gardens had finished rebuilding this exact coaster. They took it apart, restored it, reopened it to cheering crowds, and then killed it anyway. That decision makes no sense. Until you follow the money, then it makes perfect sense. This is the story of the Roar. In November of 1992, Busch Gardens Tampa announced something Florida had never seen. And in the spring of 1993, they delivered it. 143 feet tall, 60 miles per hour, a 135-foot plunge, 7 inversions, more than any roller coaster on Earth at the time, including the tallest vertical loop in the world. They named it Kumba, a word meaning roar, and it earned the name. That growl, the sound of the trains tearing through steel, became the park's heartbeat. Coaster fans say you could recognize it from across the park. When it opened, Kumba was the tallest, fastest, longest coaster in the entire state of Florida. Think about what that means. This wasn't Disney. This wasn't Universal. The biggest thrill machine in the theme park capital of the world belonged to a beer company. And Kumba wasn't just big. It was new. It came from a young Swiss firm called Bolliger and Mabillard, B&M, a name that would go on to define modern coaster design. Kumba was one of their earliest builds, and it introduced elements the industry had never seen. The first dive loop, the first interlocking corkscrews. Moves that are standard on coasters today were invented on this track, in Tampa. Now here's where the money comes in. Busch Gardens didn't start as a theme park. It opened in 1959 as a free garden next to an Anheuser-Busch brewery, an advertisement you could walk through, with complimentary beer at the end. The park was the marketing. The brewery was the business. Kumba flipped that equation. In 1993, Anheuser-Busch spent millions building the biggest coaster in Florida. 2 years later, in 1995, they shut down the Tampa brewery. Read that timeline again. They built the thrill machine first, then closed the thing the park was built to advertise. Kumba wasn't just a roller coaster. It was the moment the advertisement became the product. The beer left Tampa. The roar stayed. And for the next 3 decades, that coaster anchored Busch Gardens as a real, standalone theme park. One that could stare down Orlando and hold its ground. Which brings us to the strange ending. In November of 2024, Kumba closed for maintenance. It sat silent for roughly 10 months while crews worked on it. And in September of 2025, it came back, a full restoration, a celebrated reopening. Past members lining up for first rides. The roar returned. 10 months later, on July 14th, 2026, Busch Gardens announced Kumba would close. Permanently. Why restore a coaster you're about to demolish? The park hasn't said. But look at what they announced in the same breath. A replacement called Kumba's Revenge. Part of an investment of more than $100 million in the park's future. Details under wraps. New attraction, new era. And notice what they kept. Not the track, not the trains, the name. Because after 33 years, Kumba isn't steel anymore. It's brand equity. It's every kid who conquered it, every family photo in front of that teal loop, every coaster fan who ranked it among the best steel coasters in the world, year after year. Busch Gardens is retiring the machine and keeping the asset, the word, the roar, the memory. That's the most Busch Gardens move imaginable. This is, after all, the park that started as a brand experience with free beer. They have always understood that the feeling is worth more than the hardware. So if you rode Kumba, if you remember that first drop, that growl in your chest, the coaster is gone. But you should know exactly what you were riding, the tallest vertical loop in the world, once. The first dive loop ever built. The machine that turned a beer ad into a theme park. The postcard says a roller coaster closed. What's underneath is a 33-year-old advertisement that works so well, they're building a sequel.